Idalia is very steeped in the philosophy and prayer, and we are lucky to have you. So thank you, Idalia, for being here, being a good example for us. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do is make one last announcement. So we always do the Q&A, Science of Mind, questions and answers on the first Sunday of the month after we celebrate birthdays. Next Sunday, we're going to take a little deviation from it. We're still going to do it. But what we've decided is to create a space for people to come and seek support, be in community together as we process the fact that I made my announcement that I'm going to be moving away. We had this meeting with the practitioners already, and we wanted to extend it to the community. So wherever you're at, if you're having feelings about this, come join us for the Q&A. We're going to have practitioners with us, and it's just meant to be a kind of a healing space, a space to be seen, and I want to invite everybody that would benefit from that or enjoy that to please come do that. And then next, I do want to say one more thank you to Reverend Rick McCollum and the School of Spiritual Leadership, Florida. They hosted their retreat, their spring retreat here over the weekend, and they were so generous to include us in a couple of their activities. So they had the sound bath experience on Friday, which was unbelievable, and then sacred movement, sacred dance yesterday, and followed by a potluck that they had catered in with Olive Garden for us, so that was nice. And other people brought the potluck goods, and it was just an enjoyable time. I've heard so much feedback from our members that said it was wonderful to get to meet the students and comments on the energy and the consciousness that they brought in. So if you're comfortable standing up, can we recognize the School of Spiritual Leadership for Florida campus and Malika as well. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Malika and Rick, for organizing it and giving our center the opportunity to host you. So, truly a wonderful experience. All right, gentle cosmicness. So I spent a lot of time in the section that Idalia read from. Begins around 341, where Ernest Holmes starts talking about cosmic consciousness moment or experience. And so I thought I would bring that in a little bit, especially for anybody that maybe is not familiar with it. I actually pulled from the same part that you pulled from, too. So, I know. I'll read this quote one more time, just because it never hurts to kind of, reiterate. It says, by cosmic consciousness, we mean one's consciousness of their unity with the whole. This is not a mystery, however, but the self-knowingness of God through people. Illumination will come as people realize their unity with the whole more and more, as they constantly endeavor to let the truth operate through them. And so we practice, and we seek, and we recognize. And some people, I don't know why, I don't know how, but some people get the gift of a cosmic consciousness moment. And I was going to share the words. So Ernest Holmes, in the book, he talks about somebody named Richard Maurice Buck. And this man passed away like 1902-ish, but before he did, he had a cosmic consciousness experience. And he wrote about it, and Ernest Holmes is very inspired. He mentioned several other people that had one. Essentially, it's like a Satori experience, and I'm just gonna read and let you know. There's a reason why I'm bringing this all in. So this is the words of Maurice Buck, and being a writer and poet in the late 1800s, he referred to himself in the third person. So when he's saying he's talking about himself. So this is his recount of what happened. It was early in the spring, at the beginning of his 36th year, and he and two friends had spent the evening reading Wordsworth, Shelley, Keats, Browning, and especially Whitman. They parted at midnight, and he had a long drive in a hansom, and it was an English city. His mind, deeply under the influence of the ideas, images, and emotions called up by the reader and talk of the evening, was calm and peaceful. He was in a state of quiet, almost passive enjoyment. And all at once, without warning of any kind, he found himself wrapped around, as it were, by a flame-colored cloud. For an instant, he thought of fire. Some kind of sudden conflagration in the great city. The next, he knew that the light was within himself. Directly afterwards came upon him a sense of exultation, of immense joyousness, accompanied or immediately followed by an intellectual illumination quite impossible to describe. Into his brain streamed one momentary lightning flash of the Brahmic splendor which has ever since lightened his life. Upon his heart fell one drop of Brahmic bliss, leaving thenceforward for always an aftertaste of heaven. Among other things he did not come to believe, he saw and knew that the cosmos is not dead matter, but a living presence, that the soul of man is immortal, that the universe is so built and ordered that without any peradventure, all things work together for the good of each and all, that the foundation principle of the world is what we call love, and that happiness of everyone is, in the long run, absolutely certain. So that'll tie into the Ernest Holmes, what we believe, in a moment. But the reason I bring it up is it's reassuring. So throughout history, we've had many people. I actually went on Reddit and read through a thread of people that have experienced cosmic consciousness. And, this happens, it still continues to happen. It's the nod that the universe gives us to reassure us of what we are. If it wasn't for this experience, I would not be here today. This is the gift that I was given, and everything that Buck's shared here is what I want to bring in, is this idea that you hear me say it all the time, love with a capital L, that is all that matters. That's the only thing in the entire universe. And the reason why it's important is because we are here to experience that, but to know it. In that state of cosmic consciousness, you feel it. You know that all it is love. But you wouldn't know it if you didn't have this experience of being in the physical reality of duality. Here, we get to experience love and everything that seems to be the opposite of it. And that's the beauty and the magic of the universe, is because love is all that matters. Love is all that exists. So everything in this world that appears to be different than love, it's love in disguise to remind us of what we are, to help us choose what we are, and then to know it. Because if that was all we experienced, we wouldn't know it. And that's the gift of the infinite knowingness of consciousness that created this experience for us throughout this entire universe. So much today, the meditation, the music, we are that. We are the stardust. Our very origins, as Mel was sharing, as Einstein pointed out, we are cosmic stardust here in reality. The atoms in our body existed in stars before Earth was even formed. And they've exploded and gone on. And at some point, it's possible that Earth will get caught up in one of those explosions, and these atoms and molecules will continue on somewhere else. It's eternal. But our consciousness, in the same way that our thought and our imagination holds zero limitations. Is there anything that you are not allowed to imagine? Anything that you can't imagine? The mind is infinite, and here we are. So what are we going to do with it? This touchdown. Where are we going to touch down? What are we going to leave? So Friday night when we did the sound bath, Donna, as she was introducing us, and as I say this, I'm also recognizing that I'm probably misquoting her terribly, and it's kind of common, like a lot of times, people hear what they need to hear, and it's always funny because like I give talks and people will come up and say, I loved when you said this and that, and I'm like, oh, great, as I'm thinking in my mind, like, I never said that. But it's perfect because whatever I do say, that's the beauty of the individual use of that infinite mind. We get what we need. And she said something to the effect of like, we're here in the space creating a vessel for our being. We're in our bodies. It's a vessel for our individual being. That's part of that greater being. So what are you inviting in? How are you going to touch down? What are you going to do? Because it's all connected. And that really, made me think about, what do I consume? What media? And then sitting here in the sound bath, why don't I do more of this? Because that's inviting in intentional vibration and peace and spirit. That's how we shift our individual consciousness, and that's how we shift our shared consciousness. So this idea, I've just, this entire month, it speaks to the essence of what I am striving to be. So when I stand up here and I sound preachy, I don't want you to think I'm telling you what to do. I'm telling myself what to do, and if something resonates with you and it gives you inspiration, then that's wonderful. But all month long, this is a recurring theme to me that I have continue to see the humanness in everybody, especially those that I disagree with, especially those in times like where I get very adamant about what I'm disagreeing of. It's the perfect opportunity. That's how the universe works. We can't have a protagonist unless we have an antagonist. It's a perfect system to give us what we need and what we seek. And so all month long, I've just loved how do we respond with gentleness in the face of adversity, in the face of aggression. And easier said than done, but that is what we have to do in order to create the shift in consciousness that we talk about, to create the catchphrase that Centers for Spiritual Living has been using for many years now, to create a world that works for everyone. We have to start to think differently than we've ever thought before. And it's not to say that what's happened up before is all bad. It's all led us here. So in that big thing, in that cosmic consciousness place, there is no good or bad. There just is. And it's all to teach us, to show us the good, to appreciate it, to dwell in that place of infinite love. And here, we get the opportunities to choose it. So I thought one thing that I wanted to take a moment for this last week of the month, is to just give some more examples. I've been dropping hints or examples all month long about ways that gentleness, one, it's not a weakness, it's a strength, but how it benefits us individually. And there's been examples in life. So in the idea of Ubuntu in Africa, it's the concept of I am because you are. I can't exist unless you exist. And so one of the powerful examples was in South America, there's several villages, or South Africa, there's several villages that practice this. When somebody makes a transgression or shows up in a way that's not conducive to the group, they call him in. They don't call him out, they call him in, or they call the person in. They have him in the center of the village, and they surround him with everybody else in the village for 2 days straight. And they just repeat and say over and over all the good things that this person's done. And they do it for 2 days. And the idea is that through affirmation and unity, transformation happens in a better way than in shame and punishment. And now we see this play out in the real world. And this is one of my favorite examples. And it gets a lot of blowback. But I want to look at the reason why it would be worth considering more deeply. And I know it is being considered more deeply. But in Norway, the example is the prison system in Norway. In the 1990s, they had a very high crime rate in Norway. And the recidivism rate, for anybody that's not familiar, that's the rate where people get released from prison and then end up back into prison, repeat offenses. The recidivism rate at that point was 72%. It's right at where the United States is, 72% within 3 years. Within 9 years, it goes up to about 83% of everybody that's been in prison ends up back in prison. So Norway did something. They thought to respond with gentleness as opposed to punishment and inflicting pain. They said, what if we call people in? And so they created a new prison system that instead of having one large central prison that everybody had to go to one central place, they put little prisons all over the country, so that everybody that goes to prison is in their community. And they get to have visitors 3 times a week. They have a room that's private to themselves. They have a a private bathroom. They have a TV on the wall. They have access to classes, to workshops, to addiction counseling. They are treated like human beings who have made mistakes, as opposed to being treated like animals. Because when we have that mentality of what we've been doing for eons as humanities, that eye for an eye kind of thing, you did the most horrible thing, therefore we're going to do the most horrible thing to you that we are allowed to by law, whatever limit for whatever crime. And it's the exact same energy going right back at it. And we're not going to shift consciousness if we continue to perpetuate that idea. And the beauty of that is when we experience it, and what Norway is experiencing, the recidivism rate is 20% after that. People feel recognized, and when they get out, they want to do better. When we tell somebody they're an animal and we see them as an animal, they're going to act like animals because they feel like an animal. And so the gentle giantess, in the long run, the blowback that I get on the Norway discussion is that, well, they did wrong. They have to be punished. But what's our end goal? Is our end goal to eliminate repeat crime? Is it to save money? All of these things happen when we eliminate that recidivism rate. So we've got a lot of overhaul to do in the United States and worldwide. I mean, really, Norway is like the front runner. There's not a whole lot more that follow that I know of. However, we are starting in the United States to take note. It's an uphill battle, but it's approaching. And I watched a really cool video that was about, in California, a woman that's really putting this into effort, and what they're seeing is people waking up to their beauty, to their consciousness of what they are as human beings. So the gentle giant, how do we bring more love in? How do we recognize that every single thought that we have is a prayer? Every single action that we take has a ripple effect. Every single one. And it takes practice and it takes intention to get beyond I don't know if it's instinct, but it's our conditioned response, our reaction to life. And that's why I love Sinister Spiritual Living, because people that I meet, we are thinking forward. How do we shift this world? And it's one thought at a time, it's one practice at a time, it's one act of kindness at a time. And again, like I'm preaching to myself. I wish I could say that I'm there, that every time I see something that I immediately go to, yeah, but they're human, and I bless them, and how do we call them in instead of calling them out? But each time that I think about it, it's one more time getting closer, and that's where we're at in this world for those of us that are choosing. And it can be daunting when we look out there and we see, how do we overcome when other people still insist on going the old way, that the only way to get our way across is by might makes right. That's a challenge. So how do we still protect ourselves, encourage what we want to see without becoming what it is that we're trying to not see? And that takes effort. So our spiritual principle of the week, and I chose this one from What We Believe because of it ends up in the exact same way that Buck told us that the happiness of everyone is in the long run absolutely certain. That I know, because there's nothing else, there's nowhere else to go, there's nothing else to do. We will exit this life, we will know our oneness with it all, and maybe we incarnate again and get more experiences like this, more chances to choose love over anger. But what Ernest Holmes tells us in the We Believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. Very comforting. In the teaser, I used the quote from the movie Evan Almighty, and just to remind us of the gifts and the power and the idea of life happening to or for us instead of to us. So Evan Almighty, he asks God, and he says, why am I impatient? I need to be more patient and loving. And God says, well, if you ask God for patience, am I going to grant you patience, or am I going to give you opportunities to be patient? And it says it all, because that's what every opportunity is. Again, that idea, without an antagonist, we can't have a protagonist. So everybody that reacts to you, that brings vitriol to you, all of that, that's you being called into a higher expression. And so instead of getting angry at that, we can bless it and thank you, like, thank you for the reminder that I want to be bigger than this, that I want to be love. What can I do for you? Clearly, you have something that you could use help with. Can I help you? If not, then I can just hold the best for you while still holding my truth and protecting in that. So then our spiritual practice is direct revelation. The cosmic consciousness moment, it happens spontaneously for some people. It happens through practice, meditation for others. It happens through psychedelics for others. But revelation happens. And it's the idea, in the Bible, knock on the door and the door shall be opened unto you. So our practice is to seek that, to experience and invite it within. So we contemplate ourselves as the universe. Sit, meditate, close your eyes, and just imagine your space around you expanding, and imagining yourself expanding further beyond that until you can see yourself out beyond the planet Earth and feel that in, and just imagining your essence blending in with that. We cultivate that idea, and cosmic consciousness can arise for anyone. And whether it's in a satori moment or it's in little bits and pieces, it wants to operate through us. And that's why we're here, or at least I assume a lot of us are here for that. We're seeking that greater experience, and it wants to share that with us. So we invite it in to heal or to reveal us, and inviting gentle guidance towards gentleness. So then the affirmation is the universe is alive as love itself. So if you will join me in that and know it and feel it as you. This is literal. You are the universe. I am the universe. We get this wonderful experience of individuality. A lot of people, when they start learning about this idea of oneness, that we are one, and feel it in the cosmic consciousness, it can feel like we're getting lost within it, but it's the opposite. When you experience it and feel it, the you that is you is actually expanded and experienced in deeper ways. So let's say this affirmation together if you're on board. It is, the universe is alive as love itself. It's love itself. So with that, let's take it into prayer. Just affirming and knowing there is only one. If I pull back far enough out of this universe, it is inarguably the truth that there is only one universe, one multiverse, however we see it, but it is all one. I am that. Every person that hears these words is that. It is the impulse of the universe to express and experience itself through us. So each individual is the absolute center of their universe, and everything that is experienced and visualized without all is a projection from what's within. So deepest knowing of love with a capital L, that is constant nourishment, constant support, constant reaffirmation that we are never alone, that we will never cease to be, that we will always expand and experience more of this universe of infinite blessing that it is. So I affirm and avow that there is a strength within that enables each of us to alchemize the painful moments of our life and turn them into the moments of growth and opportunity that lead us into more compassion, more kindness, more love, more sharing, more peace on this planet. That can only come through choice, through intention, through that impulse that is within. That still small voice that whispers to each and every one of us, letting us know that we are powerful beings creating shift on this planet. And when we hold true to what we experience, that is the universe that we project. So compassion for others one day turns into compassion for ourselves. When we learn to gently forgive, we allow ourselves to be gently forgiven. For each and every one of us are here for our many various reasons to teach one another, one day being the villain and one day being the hero, knowing that we share in this with each other in order to call each other home. So gratitude for the law that takes these words, gratitude for this amazing, powerful, physical existence that we get to experience. I say thank you for it all, knowing that every single bit of it is a gift. So with that gratitude, I release these words knowing that as I do, it is already done in the mind of spirit. It is now simply us to create this shift, experience it, allow it, and celebrate it together as we say, and so it is. So it is. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Colette. Thank you.